Let's get started with our first news. Conor has once again made it clear that he's open to any challenge, and that includes a potential showdown with Islam Makhachev. As anticipation builds for his long-awaited return in 2026 at the historic White House event, the plan remains for him to face Michael Chandler at 170 pounds. When asked whether he'd consider stepping in against Islam for a shot at a third UFC title, his answer was simple and pure: Conor, I won't say no to no one. His comeback is viewed as inevitable, but the real question is whether he can maintain consistent activity, something that will ultimately determine how far he can climb back toward the top. For now, Conor has already begun training rigorously as he prepares for the year ahead. The full event lineup, including his official matchup, is expected to be released in February 2026, adding even more excitement to an already monumental return. Speaking with Bloody Elbow, Conor shared his mindset and his growing motivation. He emphasized that he's driven from within, stating that he absolutely wants a crack at the 170-pound belt to chase what he calls the Triple Crown. According to him, a fight with Islam would be a strong, competitive matchup, southpaw versus southpaw, and he even gave credit to Islam for having the courage to move up in weight. Conor expressed genuine enthusiasm about returning to the mix, stating that he's ready, eager, and hungry to showcase the work he's been putting in. He repeated that he won't turn down any opponent, and that the UFC can decide whatever comes next. All that matters to him now is getting back inside the octagon and proving himself once again. Move on to another news. The MMA world reacted strongly to Merab's first setback in years, and even though his incredible win streak finally came to an end at UFC 323, the respect he earned only grew. When Merab walked out of the arena without the bantamweight title, the reaction wasn't ridicule, it was recognition. A champion had been pushed to his limit, and even in defeat, the standard he set still stood tall. Going into the fight, Merab was chasing what many believed would cement his legend status. A fourth title defense in a single calendar year, riding a historic streak of 14 straight victories. No UFC champion had ever pulled off such a run. But over 5 exhausting rounds, Petr Yan wasn't just surviving the pressure of the machine. He dismantled the rhythm, won key exchanges, and reclaimed the belt by unanimous decision. And the moment the result became official, X lit up with reactions that treated the fight as something far greater than a simple loss. Islam Makhachev set the tone immediately, writing, Merab, you are one of the greatest to ever step into this cage. Congratulations. Petya, you deserve ITUFC 323. Coming from the current UFC welterweight champion, a man who knows the unforgiving nature of championship reigns from his years as lightweight king, the message carried real weight. It acknowledged Petr Yan's flawless adjustments and Merab's extraordinary run. Bilal Muhammad reacted in real time to the key moment of the fight, writing, wow, right in the liver, as Yan's brutal body shots visibly hurt the champ. Later, he added, Merab corner needs to tell him he's losing. It was blunt, honest, and reflected exactly what fans were seeing. Urgency was needed, but Yan never allowed Merab to take over or change the momentum. After the dust settled, Kamaru Usman took a broader view, posting, what a fight! Congratulations to both Merab Dvalishvili and Petr Yan UFC. For former pound-for-pound number 1, this wasn't hype. It was genuine appreciation for 5 rounds of elite adjustments, grit, and championship-level execution. Terrence McKinney highlighted the night as a whole, writing, man, this had to be one of the top 5 best cards ever. Let's give a hand to all these warriors. Sheesh, what an incredible night of fights. And he wasn't wrong. UFC 323 felt like a turning point, a final explosive chapter to close the ESPN era before the Paramount Skydance shift in 2026. The main event didn't just meet expectations. It exceeded them as 2 relentless titans left everything inside the cage. Move on to another news. Paddy Pimblett and Ilia have been at odds from the moment their UFC careers began, firing shots at each other online and nearly coming to blows more than once. But with Ilia stepping away from the spotlight to deal with personal struggles and rumors of a divorce from his wife Georgina, Pimblett has momentarily softened his tone. Speaking with Full Send MMA ahead of his interim lightweight title fight against Justin Gaethje at UFC 324, Pimblett admitted, obviously, me and Ilia might not like each other a lot, but I wish him nothing but the best with all his family set. It was a rare moment of empathy from the usually fiery Liverpudlian, though he quickly reminded everyone of his confidence heading into the fight. When I win this belt, I am the champ for now. I don't care if it says interim on it. I am the champ. has out of the cage, champ. With Ilia taking time away to resolve personal matters, the lightweight crown is temporarily out of play. Pimblett, however, refuses to treat the interim belt as anything less than the real thing. He also didn't hesitate to take a shot at Gaethje, referencing the moment he threw his interim belt on the floor after beating Tony Ferguson at UFC 249. I am not gonna do a Justin and throw it on the floor and say, I'm waiting for the real one. This is the real one. Ilia is out of the cage. This is the real belt. And I'm coming to take it home with me. The interim lightweight title will be decided in January as the UFC debuts on Paramount, setting up the winner for a showdown with Ilia once he returns. Despite showing compassion toward Ilia's situation, Pimblett isn't easing off the competitive fire. And Ilia, even through personal turmoil, continues to receive support from fellow fighters. Max Holloway, who endured a difficult divorce himself, shared encouragement, while Sean O'Malley also expressed sympathy. Not everyone is lining up to console the champ, though. Gaethje has already stated he plans to ruin the potential Ilia versus Pimblett matchup, hoping to beat Pimblett and then fight Ilia at the historic UFC White House event. Still, the rivalry between Pimblett and Ilia remains one of the most volatile in the division. Their long-standing feud has produced several explosive moments, from online insults to near-physical confrontations. At UFC Qatar weigh-ins, tensions resurfaced when Ilia and his brother Alexandre appeared as Pimblett prepared to corner teammate Luke Riley. What began as tense greetings quickly turned into exchanged insults. Ilia called Pimblett a P, and Pimblett fired back with, "Come on, Chorizo, calm down," before officials stepped in to separate them. Even with moments of compassion emerging, the animosity between these two continues to fuel one of the lightweight division's most heated storylines. Move on to another news. Justin Gaethje is making it clear that he intends to derail the UFC's plans for a massive Ilia versus Paddy showdown, promising that his return will throw the entire lightweight division into chaos, with fans already accusing Dana White of favoritism toward Pimblett, especially after giving him an interim title shot that many believe he hasn't earned yet. The pressure around UFC 324 continues to grow. The promotion has made it known that the winner between Pimblett and Gaethje will face Ilia next. And naturally, the UFC is hoping for the massive blockbuster of Ilia versus Paddy. But Gaethje wants nothing to do with those plans. He wants to smash them. The rivalry between Ilia and Pimblett is already one of the most heated in the sport, filled with trash talk, near fights, and a fan base that's desperate to see the two finally settle their feud inside the cage. But the former interim lightweight champion has never been someone who follows the script. At a recent UFC press conference, Gaethje declared his intentions openly, saying, "I want to play spoiler, just like I did with Khabib and Tony. I'm gonna F this up for everybody. Then I'm gonna fight Ilia on the White House card." Those words sent shockwaves across the division, a reminder that Gaethje thrives when the stakes are highest, and when Hess positioned as the man who ruins dreams. The 37-year-old is deep into his training camp, preparing not just for Pimblett, but for what comes after. His sights are already set on the historic White House card, a moment the UFC has been building toward for years. But before any of that can happen, he has to get through Pimblett, and Hess promising to make that fight violent. While Gaethje focuses on playing spoiler, fans and fighters continue to debate whether Pimblett deserved the opportunity in the first place. Critics argue that his resume doesn't match the magnitude of a title shot, and many of the division's top names have voiced their frustration. Yet controversy or not, the matchup is set, and the outcome will directly shape Ilia's next move. Gaethje repeated his message with even more intensity, saying, "I want to play spoiler, just like I did with Khabib and Tony. I'm gonna F this up for everybody. Then I'm gonna fight Ilia on the White House card." Whether the UFC likes it or not, Gaethje is determined to break their plans, rewrite the lightweight storyline, and put himself back in front of the reigning champion. Move on to another news. Max Holloway is making it clear that he wants another shot at Ilia, no matter what weight class the lightweight champion chooses to compete in next. Even with Ilia considering a move to welterweight once he returns from his personal hiatus, Holloway insists the rematch must happen. He believes there's unfinished business between them, and has not willing to let that chapter stay closed. As he prepares to defend his BMF title against Charles Oliveira at UFC 326, Holloway used a recent press conference to reiterate that whenever Ilia is ready, he will be waiting, whether it's at 155 or 170 pounds. Holloway's determination comes from a brutally honest place, because Ilia was the first man to ever knock him out. That happened at UFC 308, a moment that shook the division and pushed Holloway to rebuild. He did exactly that when he returned to action at UFC 318, defeating Dustin Poirier and proving that he was far from done. That victory reignited his momentum, and now, as he enters another high-stakes matchup, Holloway is carrying the mindset of a man who wants redemption. At the same time, Holloway has shown support for Ilia during his break from competition. Despite their rivalry, he acknowledged the personal issues Ilia is dealing with and expressed empathy, making it clear that he respects the champion as a fighter and as a man. The rivalry may be intense, but the respect runs deep. Still, Holloway hasn't forgotten the sting of that loss, and he refuses to let it define the legacy he has building for himself. Ilia, for his part, is expected to face Paddy Pimblett upon his return, a fight that already has the lightweight division buzzing. Holloway understands this, but has already looking beyond that matchup, hoping that once Ilia settles his personal matters and steps back into the octagon, the two can finally run it back. With Holloway defending his BMF belt soon and Ilia planning his comeback, the pieces are slowly aligning for a rematch that could shake the division once again. For fans, it's the kind of storyline that keeps the lightweight landscape electric. Holloway's pursuit of a rematch symbolizes his hunger to correct past mistakes, while Ilia's eventual return could reshape everything from rankings to major event headliners. Both men have a lot at stake, and the possibility of their rivalry igniting once again is one of the most compelling threads in the UFC right now. Move on to another news. Petr Yan ripped back his title from Merab in a main event that had the entire MMA world in awe, delivering a performance built on precision, discipline, and perfectly timed momentum shifts. From the opening bell, Yan made his intentions clear. He pressed forward, walked the champion toward the fence, and snapped out a sharp jab that immediately forced Merab to respond with his trademark volume. The Georgian pushed back with constant pressure, chaining takedown attempts together, trying to overwhelm Yan with the pace that had broken so many contenders before him. But Yan's balance, awareness, and defense held firm. By the halfway point of round one, Yan landed a shot that visibly stunned Merab, and the champion instinctively dove into grappling exchanges to buy himself time. It didn't shift the round entirely, but it was a warning sign of what was coming. Round two continued with the same rhythm but with a subtle change. Merab landed and pushed, but Yan began reading his entries with more comfort, more patience. Each time Merab drove forward, Yan defended cleanly, reversed positions, and even scored his own takedown, flipping the script on the relentless wrestler. The crowd reaction told the story. Yan wasn't just surviving Merab's pressure, he was solving it. Every sprawl, every pivot off the fence, every counter shot chipped away at the champion's rhythm. Then came round three, the moment when the tide officially shifted. Yan lifted and slammed Merab to the canvas, sending the arena into a roar as the champion hit the mat. Merab popped back up, but the damage had accumulated. Blood ran from his nose, his entries grew a fraction slower, his pace dipped ever so slightly, but against a technician like Yan, even a small slowdown becomes a huge opening. Yan's body work, clean, targeted, relentless, began paying dividends. The challenger created separation, found clearer angles, and forced Merab to reset again and again. The machine that had run through 14 straight wins suddenly looked human. Yan's discipline and accuracy froze him, forced him out of his rhythm, and took away the chaos he thrives on. What unfolded over the next rounds was a masterclass in timing and control. Yan chipped, countered, and punished every desperate attempt from the champion. Merab never stopped trying, but Yan never stopped landing. By the final horn, the story was written. The belt was coming home, the crowd knew it, the fighters watching knew it. And Merab, though bruised and exhausted, knew he had just been beaten by a challenger who fought with absolute, undeniable sharpness. Move on to another news. Islam Makhachev continues to strengthen his place among MMA's elite after capturing championships in both the lightweight and welterweight divisions. His lightweight triumph came last November, when he overwhelmed JDM with a performance built on control, pressure, and absolute confidence. Soon after, his manager, Ali Abdelaziz, confirmed that early discussions had already begun regarding a welterweight title defense, signaling that Islam was prepared to keep pushing his legacy to an even greater level of greatness. That potential return was initially tied to the build-up surrounding the UFC 324 main event between Paddy Pimblett and Justin Gaethje, A January 2026 timeline was seriously considered, but everything changed when Khabib Nurmagomedov stepped in. Understanding the physical toll from Islam's 5-round battle with JDM, Khabib advised him not to rush back. It was a measured decision, grounded in long-term thinking, and meant to ensure Islam returned at full strength rather than chasing quick momentum. As the welterweight division begins circling around Islam, two names stand out as possible challengers. Kamaru Usman, a former champion praised by Abdelaziz as a true legend, remains one option. However, with 1 win and 3 losses in his last 4 outings, questions hover over his consistency. His recent stretch includes 2 losses to Leon Edwards, a win over Joaquin Buckley, and another setback against Khamzat. On the other side, Ian Machado Gary has momentum after beating Carlos Prechis and Bilal Muhammad, but Abdelaziz remains unconvinced. He believes Gary still lacks a defining standout performance that proves Hess ready for a title shot. Looking ahead, Islam's next move is expected to play a major role in shaping the newly branded Paramount era. The UFC clearly sees him as a centerpiece, but timing is everything. The selection of his next opponent must honor his status as a dual champion while delivering a matchup that excites fans and elevates his growing legacy.